Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's CAFETA webinar. We're coming to you live on January 30th, 2024. For those who don't already know, CAFETA means learning in Creek. In that respect, today we'll be learning about going from garage to Main Street and taking your business to the next level from Russ Siegel, who is Executive Director of the Sequoia Fund. My name is Brooke Warrington. I'm the Training and Development Specialist here at the Native Learning Center. We're so thrilled that everybody could join us here today. If you could follow along as I read the disclaimer aloud, this webinar provides a summary of fundamental concepts, requirements, and/or procedures within the allotted 90 minutes. The material discussed does not illustrate all possible scenarios that could be applicable. Noted here is also our copyright infringement law. So this is just a friendly reminder that the webinar presentation materials are protected by copyright, trademark, trade secret, and other intellectual property laws. So just something to keep in mind. Before we get started, I want to familiarize you with some of the features and how the environment works here on Adobe Connect. So if you look at the top of your screen, you'll see an icon of either a person with their hand raised, maybe just a hand. Know that with that icon, you can signal that you're raising your hand, that you agree, that you disagree, or that you're going to step away. Now your screen should look similar to this graphic here. To the bottom left, you'll see a box that says Files. So here you'll find a copy of today's presentation slides, as well as a worksheet that is going to go with the presentation. So feel free to download a copy of those items for yourself. Just click the item you want to download, then click the arrow pointing downwards to download and save it onto your device. Once it is downloaded, it'll appear in your device's download section. Next thing over says web links. This is where you'll find our survey about today's webinar, along with the link to join our email list, the link to connect with us on LinkedIn, and any links that are going to be seen throughout today's presentation. Finally, all the way over to the right, we have a chat box available. This is how you'll communicate with the instructor as well as the NLC staff. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to interact by using that chat box. Just type your message and hit enter, or click the up arrow icon button to submit. And we do, of course, encourage class participation. So feel free to write in those questions, write in those comments. And if you have any tech support issues that you need help with, you can submit those to the chat box as well. Most tech issues can be solved by just exiting and re-entering the meeting room. But let's all go ahead and try out the chat box together. Go ahead and type in what your name is, where you're joining us from, and your tribal affiliation, please. All right, and with that, it's with great pleasure that I introduce today's webinar instructor, Russ Siegel. And Russ, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you now.
Thank you, Brooke. Shio Nagad, everyone. Hello and welcome. Hope everyone's doing well. Wherever you are, and as you're typing into the chat, if you wouldn't mind, also let us know where you are and if you are looking to take a business from garage to Main Street. It may not be your garage, it may be your basement, it may be a spare bedroom, your dining room table, or even a walk-in closet. People start businesses from all over and in all kinds of circumstances, but eventually you know it's just time to make that leap. And we are going to walk you through how to know when it's time to make that leap and then what to do when you know it's time. I do encourage you to go ahead and download the worksheet. If you don't download anything else today, go ahead and download the worksheet. The slides, we do have a PDF version of today's slides, so you don't have to take screenshots or use your phone to capture the content that you see there. But I do want you to go ahead and download that worksheet because we're going to use that today. If you're not able to use it as we go through, at least you'll have it and you'll be able to answer some of these questions a little bit later on. I think it'll be a big help to you. So why should you listen to me? What do I have to offer? I've been doing this, closer now to 30 years. I've been a professional speaker and trainer since 2000. And since 2009, I have led the Sequoia Fund. We are a native CDFI based in Cherokee, North Carolina. If you know anything about North Carolina, we are in the western pointy tip of North Carolina in the Great Smoky Mountains, about an hour west of Asheville, is where our office is. And we serve a 7-county region in western North Carolina. So pretty limited geography is where we lend money, but we do training and education all over the country. And I just enjoy doing this because I've seen so many small businesses do it right and so many do it wrong that I have learned a lot of lessons along the way. And in fact, I have been one of those folks who's done it right and done it wrong. And it's funny, you learn lessons either way. So I want to bring you all of those years of learning and mistakes and what I've seen done right, what I've seen done wrong. Make sure that you have the benefit of all of that. There are so many businesses that have started in garages. Hewlett-Packard, Apple, just to name a couple. So, you can grow as big as you want to get. But starting in a garage is, well, it's a great way to go. You don't see me, except in this still picture, my Grizzly Adams headshot, I call it. But today I am wearing my Action Tool Service baseball cap. And I wear the Action Tool Service baseball cap because that was my uncle's business. It's now in the 2nd generation. My cousin is running that business. And it was started not in a garage, but in a small space of about 100 square feet in the back of someone else's shop. He rented space from his brother. My uncle built this little business. It was a tool and die business. He would do tool grinding and cutting on this little machine in 100 square feet. It was hot. It was dusty. It smelled like metal shavings. Today, they employ 35 people. It's a $30 million a year business. And it's one of the closest garage to Main Street to success stories I have ever come across. I'm proud that that's one of the businesses in my family. I would like it better if they'd send me a check every now and then. I'm not that close, but it certainly is a success story. And I can't think about going from garage to Main Street without thinking about my uncle Larry, who started this little business with a drafting certificate from a community college and a dream. That's all he had. He had no money. He lived in an RV, not even a mobile home. He lived in an RV at Buckrow Beach, Virginia, north of Virginia Beach, while his wife, my aunt, was a school teacher. She paid the bills while he got this dream started. And eventually he was able to move out, and they moved into progressively larger and larger buildings. And if that's the route you want to take as you're growing a business, hey, it can be done. It can be done. Today, their client list includes Langley Air Force Base, NASA, the U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force, Grumman, so many defense contractors, building contractors, you name it. If it can be done with metal, they do it. So dream big, dream outside the garage. Today, we're going to talk about what's in your garage. You probably have all the tools you need to get started today, to build your business from the garage and take it to Main Street. We're going to talk about how to SWOT yourself. No worries. This is not a painful process. It's actually a very enlightening process. We'll talk about the resources you need to gather, things that you need to pull together to make sure you're as successful as you can be. We'll talk about your customers. Who's going to pay you? Who loves you, baby? And yes, I'm going to date myself pretty seriously as we go through this. So for some of you who are older, you may get some of the references. If not, ask your mother. She'll understand the references. How do you know when it's time to make the leap? That's the big pivotal question. How do we know it's time to move out of the garage? Well, I've got a 7-step checklist for you that's going to help you make that determination. How do you get legit? Sometimes small businesses operate just out of a personal bank account. They start small, maybe just as a hobby, thinking this is not going to go anywhere. I'll never have to write this off on my taxes. Before you know it, they're getting big And now it's time to get legit. So we'll talk about that. On down the list is how to name your business. If you don't yet have a name, or if you're thinking about a name, sometimes this is a process that people agonize over. It's one that we worry about, we fret over. I'll talk to you about that and why we shouldn't let that bother us, and how the name of the business can come together pretty nicely for you. We'll talk about location considerations. If you're going to move out of the garage and down to Main Street, my goodness, you need to find a location. You need to find a location that works for you, that works for your customers. And I'm going to give you some guidelines on how to do that as you make that leap. We'll talk about how to prioritize things, because as you think about, and David here says, curious about side hustle creation. Okay. When you start thinking about a side hustle, that implies that you have, ta-da, a main hustle, which means that your time is even more limited. You have to work around the thing that pays your bills as you get your garage business started. So if you're going to do that, you have to have a way to put things in order so that you're working on the tasks with the greatest impact first. Don't let the urgent get in the way of the important, those kinds of things. I'm going to give you a tool that you can use. You'll see the visual, but you'll be able to draw this out and use this not just for starting a business or for growing a business, but what movie to watch Friday night, what to have for dinner, what game to play it with the family on game night. All those kinds of things. You can use this prioritization tool for that. I'm going to give you the nitty gritty on writing your business plan, and it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be scary. And if you look in the web links section down at the bottom of your screen, number 5 is a free business plan template. You can click on that, and I'm going to give you a fill in the blank template that you can use to get started. I'm a big believer that once begun is half done. And if you start taking things out of your brain and dumping them on paper, you're going to be amazed at how far you already are. But please don't think that you can keep your business plan in your head. It needs to be on paper. You need to get started on that. I'm going to make it not so scary. And we're going to talk about how to get the money you need, because if you're going to make the leap from your garage, hey, that's included in your house payment. It's included in your rent. But when you move out, you're going to have some other expenses. You may need to come see someone like Sequoia Fund. You might want to visit a native CDFI or a bank or some other lending institution or an investor to get the money you're going to need to propel your business forward. So we're going to go through all of that. So let's talk first about what's in your garage. There are 3 things that have to come together, and there's a reason these circles overlap. They have to come together for this to go from idea to opportunity. An idea is something that rattles around in your head, and you think about it, and it could be cool, it could be fun. Maybe it's a hobby, and you think, wow, there are a lot of people like me. If I did this as a business, people might pay me to help them. Well, that's an idea. But when these 3 components come together and overlap, we start to move from idea to opportunity. And opportunity is something that we can take advantage of. We can work with an opportunity. We have to start with you. And if you look at the worksheets that I've given you, at the very top, the first question is you. What makes you the perfect person to make this business successful? This is your background, your experiences, your expertise, your education, your personality, your behavior styles, the way you like to operate, the people you like to surround yourself with, and the type of person you are. You, all of you, makes up this unique being that is able to take this business and run with it. What makes you the person who can make this business a success? Now, look, I don't know if you've noticed that I have a pretty significant Southern Appalachian accent. Actually, I'm trying to enunciate today. When I'm around my family, it sounds pretty serious Southern Appalachian accent down in these mountains here. But I'm gonna tell you, when you think about all the things that you bring to the table. There are a lot of things I learned around my grandmother's table on Sunday afternoon, talking in that Southern Appalachian drawl, that are important to the way I do business: honesty, integrity, ethics, be true to your word, do what you say you're going to do. Listen, you are not special, but you are unique. I got that one from Mom back when I used to think I was special. You're not special, but you are unique, and you bring certain qualities to the table that are going to make this business grow. Things that nobody else could do with this. But this is why we have so many businesses in the same industry, and some are great and some are not. Sometimes it just comes down to you. But you also have to look at your market. There has to be a market out there who wants to pay you for what you do. Ray Kroc, founder of McDonald's, actually, he wasn't the founder of McDonald's. He was the founder of the McDonald's franchise system. The McDonald's brothers founded the restaurant, but he grew the franchise system. He was interviewed once and in front of a group of college students. And he was asked, what is the one thing that matters most in running a successful restaurant? And he turned that question around to the audience and he said, what do you think? So the students stood up and they said, you need a great location. You need great food. You need the right equipment. You need this and that. And he said, no, you're all wrong. He said, those things are necessary, but they're not sufficient. The one thing I need to be successful in the restaurant business is a hungry crowd. Do you have a hungry crowd? Do you have a group of people who are willing to buy what you have to sell? Look, your business is going to be fueled by little green pictures of dead presidents. And you need to know that there are enough people out there willing to give you those little green pictures of dead presidents to keep your business going. We're going to talk about your market, how to define your market, and how to find those people. But you have to have a market. If nobody's willing to buy what you have to sell, then you still may have a hobby and it'll be a lot of fun, but it won't be a business. But you and your market are not enough, because it's true that no man is an island. I've talked to a lot of people who believe themselves to be self-made. You've heard that term before. I'm a self-made millionaire. I'm a self-made business person. No. Your third grade teacher probably had a lot to do with you being successful. Your parents, your grandparents, your neighbors, somebody you worked with for 2 weeks back in 1998. You just never know, but you have to surround yourself with a cast of thousands and acknowledge that it takes a community to raise a successful entrepreneur. You have to tap into resources. What are those resources? Well, we're going to talk a lot about the resources coming up, but just know that you're going to need to have somebody who can handle your taxes. You're going to have to rely on a banker. Maybe you have a trusted advisor. I remember when my uncle was alive, he was a tremendous mentor to me because he had made every mistake in the book as he grew his business, and he had learned from them. And so he was sometimes miles ahead of me on the path. Sometimes he was only a few steps ahead of me, but he was always ahead of me. And I trusted him. I knew he was going to shoot straight with me. He was going to be honest. So you need those resources around you. What are some other resources? Well, you need money. You need money. You need time. Again, we're going to dig into all these resources, but it's never just you. It's your market, it's your resources. And again, the more of these that you can compile, the more overlap you're going to find. So what I'm going to recommend that you do is, outside this worksheet that I've given you, sit down and make a list. Make a list of all of your qualities, your qualifications, your expertise. What brings you to this point? What makes you the person to run this business? Think about your market. Can you describe who those people are? Who needs or who wants to buy what you have to sell? And make a list of the resources. At first, this may just be a list of people who you trust, who you know, who may know other people, who may have information. who may be able to tap you into other resources. Start making a list, and you'll find that the bigger your list grows, the more your circles will overlap. And that's a very good thing. We also need to ask 3 questions about ourselves. What am I deeply passionate about? A lot of people think they want to start a business or a side hustle because they need some extra money. Okay, maybe you do need extra money, but why do you need the extra money? Well, I'd like to take an extra vacation with my kids every year. Well, I'd like to be able to pay for college education. It's not the money that motivates you, it's those other things. It's your family, it's your friends, it's your hobby, it's your love of something or someone. Money is a great barometer of success. Money will tell you whether you're successful or not. It's just your gauge, and that's all it is. There's got to be something more to get you out of bed on those days when you'd rather just pull the covers up over your head and not go anywhere. Maybe you had a bad day yesterday. Is this thing you're doing enough to make you bound out of bed and do it again? Psychologists call money a hygiene factor. A hygiene factor, like clean water. Once you have enough clean water, having more clean water is not going to motivate you to drink more water, right? Having enough food is not necessarily going to motivate you to eat more food. Now, depression, happiness, I mean, celebration, there are a lot of things that can get us to eat more food, but just the mere fact of having more food is not a motivator. Well, money motivates us to a point. If we don't have enough water, we're motivated to go dig a well. But once we have enough water, we stop digging. Once we have enough money, money ceases to be the motivator that it used to be. And if you have a bad day and you have enough money, you may just decide to stay in bed. What is it that you care most about? What do you want to do every day? If you could wave a wand and do this thing and earn a living, what would it be? Then we need to ask what I call the Harlan Sanders question. Harlan Sanders had failed at just about everything he had ever done: insurance sales, tire sales, restaurant, hotel management, and ownership, you name it. He had failed at just about everything. He was 65 years old. He was seriously considering taking his, at the time, $200 a month Social Security benefit and just calling it quits. He had 2 grown daughters, and they were encouraging to him, and they knew that he couldn't just sit around and wait to die. And he knew he couldn't just sit around and wait to die. So Sanders decided he was going to do something. And he thought, what is it that I do better than anyone else in the world? I don't want to do something else that I'm going to fail at, because I'm tired of failing. What do I do better than anyone else in the world? And he thought about it for a while, and he came to the conclusion that he fried the best chicken he had ever tasted. So he experimented with these 11 herbs and spices, and he came up with a recipe that he thought was going to be a hit. He called his grown daughters into the kitchen, and he said, here, taste this. They loved it. They said, Daddy, stop. Don't mess with this anymore. You've got the perfect fried chicken. He took a pencil and he wrote the recipe on the door frame of the kitchen. And he said, if anything ever happens to me, this is your ticket. This will make you successful. And that was the beginning of KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Because he wanted to do what he could be the best at. He didn't want to be something that was mediocre or just okay. What can you be the best in the world at? Maybe you're not right now the best in the world, but what could you be? Maybe you don't need to be the best in the world. Maybe you need to be the best at this in Fort McDermott, Nevada. Maybe you need to be the best at this in Seattle. Maybe you need to be the best at this in Florida or Fort Lauderdale. You know, if I'm running a bodega in Manhattan, I don't need to be the best bodega in Manhattan. I need to be the best bodega in a 3-block radius, because that's my world. I'm not going to care what other bodegas are doing in Brooklyn and Queens. I'm worried about a little 3-block radius because that is my world. So what can you be the best at? Next is, what drives your economic engine? What is that thing people actually pay you for? Now, I'm going to tell you that we have been thinking about what we sell wrong for far too long. When we think about products, we think about the technical specifications. How does it look? How does it feel? How much does it weigh? How long does it last? What's it made of? How do you repair it? Et cetera, et cetera. If it's a service, we think about how fast can I do this? How many hours can I bill for this? How good can I make this lawn look? Or how shiny can I make this car look? Or how pretty can I make this puppy look if I'm doing dog grooming? You know, we think about the service, the technical specifications. We think about what we do. We think about what we sell. But let me tell you this. What drives your economic engine is how you answer 2 questions. 1, what problem do I solve? What problem is there in the world that I can fix? What pain is there that I can make go away? The second question that you need to ask is, what good feeling do I create? What problem do I solve? What good feeling do I create? Now, Disney World, Disneyland, they do a great job of this. Are they the best theme parks in the world? Arguably, no. I would say no, and I'll fight over that opinion. I'm a roller coaster guy. I love a good roller coaster. I want to go where they've got really good roller coasters. So there are a lot of things that Disney does right and they do well. But here's what they do. They solve a problem. Where are we going to take the kids on vacation? I have this pile of cash and I have the option of going on vacation somewhere really expensive or just putting it in the backyard and setting it on fire. Okay, what can I do with that cash? The problem is, what do I do? How do I book my plane tickets, my hotel reservations? How do I take care of my park tickets, my meal arrangements? How do we get everybody fed? Well, if you go to the Disney website, they will take care of that for you. You've got travel agents who specialize in Disney vacations. Disney makes it very easy. That's the problem they solve. What's the good feeling they create? Well, when you get back home and your pockets are empty and you're sweaty and tired and you've had enough, and the kids are saying, when can we go again? Because they are so happy. They had such a great time. They don't remember the long lines. They don't know anything about how expensive it was. They just remember it was fun. Those 2 things drive your economic engine. They are the fuel, the problem you solve and the good feeling you create. If you can think about what you do in those terms, turn that question outward toward your customers, toward the world, and think about the problem you solve and the feeling you create, and stop thinking about the thing that you do or the thing that you sell. You're going to understand better what drives your economic engine, and it's going to be much more successful. We only have 4 resources in our garage. We have time, money, energy, and what I call the gotta wanna. Some people call it ego. But let's break this down a little bit. Economist and author Thomas Sowell is famous for saying there are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. Let me say that again. There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. And what does that mean? You have the same amount of time as everyone else on this planet. That is the one resource we all share an equal amount of. We have the same number of hours in a week, in a month, in a day, in a year. What we choose to do with that time is the deciding factor on who's going to be successful and who's not. We have a steady stream of people who come into Sequoia Fund and they say, I want to start a business. Do you have a business plan? No, I don't have a business plan. I don't have time to write a business plan. Okay, you have time to run a business, but not to write a plan for the business. Well, why don't you have time? Well, I've got to watch 4 hours of television a night. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Let's face it, people are not usually that honest, but we know. We know where people spend their time. If you have a job, you're working 8 hours a day, maybe you're commuting 30 minutes to and from work, so there's another hour. There's 9 hours of your day gone. You need solid 8 hours of sleep. There's 17 hours of your day gone. That leaves you 7 hours a day. Do your kids have ball games and school plays and functions that they have to attend, dance recitals, piano recitals, things like that? Hey, there's some hours that you carve out of your day. Maybe you find that the only time you have to start this business or to grow this business is an hour between the time you get the kids into bed and the time you're ready to hit the sack. What are you going to do with that 1 hour? We have to be realistic about the amount of time we have and the amount of time we can contribute to the business. Money is something that we all have different amounts of. But here's where the trade-offs come in. You may not have time to learn how to do your own bookkeeping, but if you have a little bit of money, you can hire someone to do your bookkeeping. There's the trade-off. You can substitute money for time. If you don't have a lot of money and you can't repair that piece of equipment, you can't pay someone to come and repair that piece of equipment, maybe you can spend some time on YouTube or wherever learning how to do it yourself. Energy. Again, we all share different amounts of energy. But if you have a short amount of time and a lot of energy, you can get more done than if you have a low amount of energy and more time. Because what we tend to do is we tend to take a task and make it fill the amount of time we have. We have 2 hours. We have a task that could take us 1 hour, but somehow it still takes us 2 hours. Why does it take us 2 hours instead of 1? Because we know we have 2 hours. We can fool ourselves into using that energy more efficiently. We can give ourselves an hour. If you say to yourself, I only have 1 hour to do this task, you can complete it in an hour. That's called Parkinson's Law. Parkinson's Law says that we stretch tasks out or compress them into whatever time we have to complete them. If you remember, maybe your teacher gave you a paper to write back in school, and she gave you 2 weeks to write that paper. How long did it take you to write that paper? Did it take you 2 weeks to write the paper? No. It probably took you the night before it was due, unless you're my wife. My wife always started on the assignment that night. But for some of us, we wrote it in a couple of hours the night before it was due. Now, if your teacher had given you 2 hours to write that paper, could you have done it? Absolutely. No reason not to. We need to adjust our energy. And this is where people sometimes go wrong trying to do time management. We don't need to worry so much about time management as we do energy management. We need to be thinking about how to manage our energy. And then there's the gotta wanna factor. The gotta wanna is, do you want it bad enough to do it? Do you want it bad enough to put yourself out there on the limb and risk failure? When we think about going from garage to Main Street, we have to say, do I have enough gotta wanna to step out and risk success? You've probably heard of the fear of failure. That's an easy one. I don't want to fail, so I'm not going to try. But there are people who choose to not try because they're afraid they'll be too good. Let me give you an example. We had a lady come to us. She was on disability. She was drawing a check of $800 a month. $800 a month. disability. She could sew like nobody's business. I mean, she could make some of the most beautiful clothes and skirts and things like that. It was amazing. And it was something that she could do. And this was right about the time eBay was settling down and Etsy was becoming a thing. And she met with me to talk about this garage to Main Street thing, because she was making some clothing items and selling them, and it was okay. And I said, you know what? If you did this full time, if you made this your job, you could make so much money. And we projected she could easily make $6,000 or $7,000 a month doing this. And you could almost see her physically recoil. She said, I don't want to do that. And I said, okay, tell me why. Because sometimes it's, I don't want to commit the time that it's going to take to do this. I don't want to commit the energy to do this. Maybe I don't want to have to go out and find the money it's going to take to make that leap. No, hers was about gotta wanna. Here's what she said. If I make $6,000 a month, I'm going to lose my disability check. And that was really sad to me. In her mind, that sure thing, that $800 guaranteed disability check, which kept her in poverty, by the way, was more important to her. It overpowered the gotta wanna to go out and earn 6,000 or 7,000 or more in her own business. And because of that, she decided she was not going to grow. She was not going to make the leap. Where is your gotta wanna? Are you willing to risk failure? And are you willing to risk success? If you move this business out of your garage, it may mean that you have to consider giving up a job that you've held for a long time, that pays you good money, that has good benefits. Are you ready to do that? I told you that we were going to talk about your support network. Well, these folks are important. There's an old saying that the worst time to look for a lawyer is when you need a lawyer. Now, this is why so many people end up in jail. They're arrested. They're given one phone call. They don't know a lawyer. So they call their mother, they call a friend, and then they get appointed an attorney who doesn't know them, and they don't know. Well, listen, the same thing can be said for an accountant, for a banker, for a lender, native CDFI. You don't want to wait until you need these people to start having conversations with them. You can sit down with an accountant before you're ever ready to even start a business and say, if I were to start this business, what are some things I would need to do? What are some things I need to know? What are some things I need to start structuring? Yeah, you'll probably pay anywhere from $75 to $100 for a simple initial consultation. Folks, that is not an expense. That is an investment in education. The same thing can be said for an attorney. Now, there are a lot of attorneys who will give you a free consultation up front. Maybe it's only 30 minutes. But here's the deal. When it comes time to incorporate or to create contracts or a partnership agreement, or if you need representation when you get sued, you are a known entity. They already have an understanding of what you do. You've met before. Oh yeah, I remember you. You're the person with the mobile oil change business. Okay. And they're more likely to be able to help you if they know you. I'm going to skip over to the other side for just a second. We're going to talk about the Chamber of Commerce. If you have a business that operates locally, relies on local customers, local suppliers, local networks, there is no better connection than your Chamber of Commerce. I would just recommend you join, even if it costs you a couple $100 a year. Join the Chamber of Commerce. Get involved. Go to their business after hours events, their mixers and their networking events. Go to their business breakfasts where they may have a guest speaker. And don't stop there. Here, our Chamber of Commerce has a group of ambassadors, or otherwise known as the Red Jackets. These ambassadors are a group within the Chamber of Commerce who all wear red blazers. They show up for every business expansion, ribbon cutting, anniversary, anything that a business is celebrating. Those ambassadors show up. They have their picture made. It goes in the newspaper. Everybody knows them, and it is a deeper way to network. And don't stop there. Join your Chamber of Commerce board of directors. Run for a seat. Learn how people do business in town. You're going to make so many good connections that when you walk into an insurance agency and say, "Hey, I need to increase my insurance," they're gonna know exactly who you are, what business you run, and they're going to be able to help you. Same thing for a banker. Now, even if you have a native CDFI on your reservation or right in your backyard, you still need a banking relationship. CDFIs, Community Development Finance Institutions, we were designed as lenders of last resort. We were designed to step into the gap in native communities where people can't get money because the bank either can't lend because of collateral issues or things like that, or they just won't lend. That's why CDFIs exist. Sequoia Fund has been around 26 years. We are no longer the lender of last resort. We are the first place people come when they need money or they think they're going to need money. They come to us and they say, "I'm thinking about doing this. What do I need to do?" Okay, if you have a great credit score, maybe the bank is going to be the best place for you because they're going to be able to provide you with more services, more banking products, a debit card, a credit card processing. There are going to be a lot of things that they can do for you that a native CDFI cannot. However, we have people who come to us and we get them started with a banking relationship. We make introductions. Now they've at least got a place where they can open a business banking account. And then the bank says, "Wait a minute, you've not been in business at least 2 years. We're going to still consider you a startup. We love you. We love this idea, but we can't do this because of policy." They come right back to us and we can make the loan. So your banker and your native CDFI, that's a good pairing relationship to have. But even if you don't have a CDFI available to you, start talking to bankers. When you go to a Chamber of Commerce event, when you go to a mixer or a business after hours or a business breakfast, talk to people. Who's your accountant? Who's your attorney? Where do you bank? You're going to find people who say, "Oh, well, I moved to this bank because they're bigger and they can provide me with more services." And you're going to find someone else who says, "You know what? I moved over to this other bank because they're smaller and they're more personal and they take care of me." Okay, where do you need to be? You're going to get some good advice on that. Your suppliers can actually be wonderful support to you because they see everybody in your industry. They have learned a lot about your competitors, your friends, everybody else who's out there doing exactly what you do. If you're in the restaurant business, food truck business, the medical supply business, whatever it is, these suppliers are going to be able to give you advice and counsel. They want you to be successful. Yes, they want you to buy things. Okay, first and foremost, they're selling you something. We have no illusion that there's not a sales relationship there. But they want you to be successful because now you're not just a customer, you're going to be a long time customer. You're going to grow, you're going to buy more from them over time. And you're going to solidify that relationship. They can also tell you, "Hey, this is one of the trends that we've seen. This might be something you want to think about." They're going to help you see over the horizon a bit. Down at the bottom here, we have trusted advisors. Again, I'm going to, I can't talk about my late uncle enough. He was a wonderful, trusted advisor to me, but you might have somebody in your family, in your friends group, in your church, somebody who used to be a coworker of yours who they're honest, they're successful. They're going to give you the benefit of what's in their brain. And that's a good trusted advisor. Somebody who's going to tell you, "This is a dumb idea. Don't do that," because they want to protect you. Or somebody who says, "It's dumb for you to not move. You need to go ahead and do this. Take that leap." somebody who can give you permission, so to speak, to move forward. That's what a trusted advisor is going to tell you that nobody else can tell you. Family is a crapshoot, by the way. Family, you could have family who are supportive. You could also have family who are totally against this idea and think you're crazy for wanting to start a business. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but you could probably think of one or two people close to you who would never think to venture out and start their own business. It's too scary. Why would anybody want to do that? Why don't you just go get a real job? Well, if COVID taught us anything, it's that there's no such thing as a secure job in any industry. There almost never was. Family who support you are great. Family who just say yes because they want you to like them, look out for them. But the family who push against you, you don't necessarily need to turn them and get their support. What you need to do is make sure they just step out of the way. Starting a business is hard enough without people close to you pushing against you. Ask them respectfully to let you try this, and if you fail, it's on you. It's not a reflection of them. I just need you to step out of the way. Don't fight me on this. You may have friends who are just like your family, who think that you're crazy for wanting to start this idea. You might have friends who think you're crazy for not having done this years ago. But your friends, your family, your trusted advisors, what's their network look like? Who do they know? Who could they connect you with? Who do they bank with? Who does their taxes? Who do they really like? Who do they trust? Ask those questions. Those are going to be valuable resources for you. Once you've got all that together, and you've got the worksheets here to give you, that first page is going to help you put together these lists. What are the resources you have? How much time, energy, gotta, wanna, all those good things. The second page is where you're going to start to SWOT yourself. Let's talk about this for a little bit. This is a tool that's used by businesses of all sizes. Big businesses, government agencies, all kinds of organizations use the SWOT tool. This is the SWOT technique, and it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The reason it's in a grid like this, and you've got a grid on your worksheet, you can work through this. You need to be brutally honest in your answers in this. Whatever you put on this page, nobody else is going to look at. Nobody's going to check your homework. Nobody's going to look over your shoulder. But if you're not brutally honest with yourself, you're setting yourself up for failure. So let's start with the strengths. What are your strengths? Again, we're going to go back to you. I'm going to go back to that first page. What is it about you? What are your strengths? Maybe you have a degree in this. Maybe you have a certification in this. Maybe you have 20 years experience in this. Maybe one of your strengths is that you are now a recognized authority. People come up to you and ask you, how do you do this? What would you do in this situation? You didn't ask for it, but people have recognized it. They know that maybe you're great on social media. So if you're thinking about starting a social media management company, you realize that one of your strengths is that people are already asking for your advice. Why not charge for that? Is one of the strengths where you are? Maybe you're in a perfect geographic location for this. Maybe you have the right population for this. If you start a mobile dog grooming business, for example, maybe you start looking into census data and find that your zip code and the 5 zip codes around you has a higher than average concentration of dogs as pets that people would consider having groomed. Look, if I've got a hunting dog that lives out in the backyard, we're probably not going to get old Blue. Probably not going to have old Blue's nails done, put ribbons in Blue's hair. No. But maybe you live in a place that has the absolute perfect combination. That is a strength. You cannot build your business on a weakness, but you can build your business around your strengths. But you also have to acknowledge those weaknesses. Maybe I'm not good at accounting. Maybe I'm not good with numbers. Okay, we can build our business on strengths and we can compensate for our weaknesses. We can hire someone to run our social media if we're not good for that. We can hire someone to handle our taxes and our bookkeeping if we're not good at that. Strengths and weaknesses are internal. They're yours. You own those. They're unique to you, but they're yours. You can control them to a degree. You can ignore your strengths. You can build up your strengths. You can use those strengths. You can capitalize on those strengths. You can compensate for your weaknesses. There might be some weaknesses that you find, hey, this is a weakness, but it doesn't matter. I can ignore this. Whatever it is, you control that top layer of strengths and weaknesses. The bottom, you have no control over. These are external. Your opportunities and threats are outside of you, outside of your business. Your opportunities might be, wow, there are, I make custom kites. One of the opportunities is that we have a beach south of us that gets constant wind all the time. Maybe I could go down there and sell that. That would be a great place to sell. That's an opportunity. A threat might be, I've been making kites out of my garage for years, and now all of a sudden I see a dozen other people in town making and selling kites. Okay, what are you going to do about that? You need to know about your opportunities and threats, but the big question is, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to take advantage of those opportunities? And how are you going to mitigate your threats? How are you going to make sure those threats don't come back to haunt you, or worse, kill your business? So you have to, again, be brutally honest with these. This is not going to give you all the answers, but it is going to give you a well-rounded picture of where you stand. What are those strengths and weaknesses that are going to help propel your business that you could identify, take advantage of? What are the opportunities and threats that that you need to look out for? You might have something that happens. Let's say a manufacturing plant closes down, or a manufacturing plant moves to town. You might see it as an opportunity and a threat. It might be an opportunity to sell. If I'm a cabinet maker, that means more people are going to be moving to town. I could sell more cabinets, but the threat is that, man, I'm going to start having to hire more people. Ooh, I'm not good. That's a weakness. I'm not good at hiring people. Okay, I can strengthen that a little bit. I can figure that out. The threat might be that it's going to drive labor prices up. Wow, I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with that. Again, identify it and then figure out what to do about it. There's something else you need to be able to identify and figure out, and that is who loves you, baby. Yes, Telly Savalas, if you don't know who Kojak was, ask your mama. But I'm dating myself here. This was his big question. If you just Google the term "who loves you, baby," Telly Savalas as Kojak is going to come up. He always had the signature lollipop in his mouth. But the question for you is, who loves you? Who wants what you have to sell? Who's going to camp out all night to buy your concert tickets? Who's going to stand in the rain to buy that first brand new iPhone? We don't see that much anymore because now, we're on iPhone, 15, 16, something like that. By the time we get to iPhone 75, it's just going to be same old, same old. But hey, in the early days, there were people who would camp out in the snow and the rain for days to make sure they were the first one to get that brand new whatever. And again, I'm dating myself because we don't camp out in front of stadiums anymore to buy concert tickets. But I want you to be thinking about your business in those terms. Do you have customers who would camp out and go through those kinds of weather conditions just to buy what you have to sell? Those are your avatars. Avatar is a marketing term. It means it's an idealized representation of your perfect customer. It's a composite that you turn into one ideal person who you talk to. Now, the reason I have a graphic here of the terracotta army from China, and I had the good fortune to be able to see a tour of these terracotta soldiers when they came to Atlanta, probably a decade ago or so. And from a distance, all of these look the same, and there are thousands of them. You just think it's a terracotta army. They're all in uniform. They all look the same. From a distance, all of our customers look the same. We can take a composite. We can back up, and take that 30,000-foot view and say, this is our ideal customer. We need to know where that customer lives, works, how much they make, how many kids they have in the household, what they drive, how much education do they have? What do they do in their spare time? What do they read? What do they listen to? What do they watch? What websites do they visit? What's their hobbies? We need to know that about these customers, because if we can find them, if we can define them, we can find them. So if we could only sell our product or service to one person, that one person who represents all of our customers, what would that one person look like? The reality, though, is that when you get closer to these terracotta soldiers, you see that every one of them has their hat tipped a little bit differently. They have a different expression on their face. They have a unique face. They are not the same. In fact, of these thousands of terracotta soldiers that were carved, no two are alike, just like our real customers. We have to have both the 30,000-foot view of that one perfect avatar, because that's who we're going to talk to. That's who we're going to talk to in our videos, in our advertising messages, in our emails. I tried to watch a video the other night, and the first thing the guy said on the video was, "Hey, everybody out there on YouTube." That was kind of like one of those old 1950s hello out there in TV land things. Well, nobody wants to be out there in TV land, because that just makes us one of the millions. No, we want to be special. We want the brands that talk to us individually. Look at the emails that you read, the emails that you will actually pay attention to, and not just delete as it comes in. They're probably emails that call you by name, that talk to you as an individual, that address your particular needs, and don't address you as just one of these terracotta soldiers, as just another customer out there in the sea of customers. We have to have both perspectives. We have to talk to that one composite, because that composite is going to define our best customer. You've probably heard the term target marketing. If you think about your universe of potential customers as a target, your avatar is squarely in the bullseye. That's where you want to aim. You want to talk to that avatar. Now, there may be other types of customers out on the fringes of that target who will be loyal to you. They will buy from you, but they're also going to buy from your competitors. They're going to buy from other people, and maybe they're not going to be as loyal to you as you'd like. And if you aim for them and you miss, you could go broke. If you miss when you aim for your avatar, maybe your message is off just a little bit, you're still going to reach people who want to buy from you. The biggest key here is you need to define who your customer is. Who loves you, baby? Once you've defined them, you can find them. Now, we also need to be thinking about where these avatars buy. They probably are buying from someone else now. If I'm a kite maker, if I'm a hammock maker, if I'm a custom furniture maker, people already have hammocks and kites and furniture. They're probably buying those things already. So where are they buying them? We need to look at two types of competitors. Every business has two basic types of competitors. One is a direct competitor. They're easy to find. They're the businesses that look like you, do what you do, buy from the same suppliers, use the same services, advertise in the same mediums. They're easy to spot. They want to eat your lunch every day. You want to eat their lunch every day. You can always find a way to say, you know what? We have a direct competitor. I'm a pizza restaurant. There's another pizza restaurant across the street. We're direct competitors, but here's what I do better. Maybe my delivery is faster. Maybe my crust is a little fresher. Uh, maybe I make my own tomato sauce. There are things that I can do differently uh, to compete against this direct competitor. But we also have another type of competition. It's called an indirect competitor. The indirect competitor is maybe the frozen pizza at the grocery store. Maybe it's the hot and ready pizza down at the convenience store. Maybe it's, I just decided I'm not ready for pizza tonight. I'm going to eat lasagna, or I'm going to make a sandwich. I'm still eating, but I'm not eating your pizza. That's an indirect competitor. If you think about how your customers view your competition, why are they motivated to buy from you? Why would they be motivated to spend a little more money on your pizza versus going across the street and getting the Little Caesars hot and ready pizza, or going to the convenience store and buying their pizza? What's their motivation? If you understand your place in that competitive landscape, and you understand how your avatar thinks and why they buy what they buy, you're going to be able to go get those customers when your competitors are just throwing darts in the dark, hoping to hit that target. So how do you know when it's time to make the leap? I'm going to tell you right now, you do not have to check all 7 of these. You don't have to check all 7 of these, but you need to check enough of these to feel comfortable making the leap. If you are seeing consistent revenue growth, wow, you know, my bank account's growing a little bit more every month. This is a real thing. My gut is telling me that this could be a real business. Hey, that's a check mark. That's a good thing. Consistent revenue growth. It's not that spike that one month that things just went crazy and you couldn't keep up, and then things died down and you wonder where all the business went. No, that was a fluke, but it wasn't a consistent trend. If you find yourself expanding your offerings, maybe you started out selling motorcycle helmets, overstocks and overruns, maybe out of your basement. And now you are selling motorcycle boots and jackets and gloves and accessories, and goggles and sunglasses, because you're seeing increased customer demand. You know, somebody says, wow, I really love the helmet that I bought from you. Do you have jackets too? When are you going to start selling gloves? When you start seeing increased customer demand, and maybe you are struggling to keep up, maybe you refurbish furniture or you make furniture. When you start to work harder and are trying to cram more activity into the available time that you have, that's a pretty good sign that you're seeing increased customer demand. That's another check mark. When you're starting to see space constraints, maybe the garage isn't big enough. Every day that I come in here to work, I have to move things out into the driveway just so that I have space to work. Maybe I'm having trouble keeping up and I need to hire someone. Again, that is a good sign. Maybe you need more logistical efficiency. Okay, I can make the stuff, but where do I pack it? I have to take it into my kitchen table. And now my kitchen table is my packing station. And UPS delivers every day, but they don't have a place to put all those boxes. They're just dropping everything in the driveway, and at the end of the day, I'm having to pull everything into the house. I can't ship every day because UPS has no place to show up. I really need a loading dock. There is your need for logistical efficiency. Now, somewhere in between the need for logistical efficiency and the need for improved professional image, I'm going to speak very specifically to you if you have an HOA. If you have a homeowners association, you may be limited in what you can do. In fact, homeowners associations are notorious for not liking it very much when somebody runs a business out of their home. Maybe you've been able to hide this business in your garage, and now it's too big to hide. Maybe you have a business where people need to come and see you, visit your location, and you just need something that's more professional. Maybe you're starting to see customers on walkers, canes, and wheelchairs, and maybe they need more access. Okay. If you need an improved professional image, then it might be a good check mark. It might be time to move out. Now, the need for an improved professional image is not a make or break thing. There are people who are running very successful CPA practices, accounting practices from their home. There are people who are doing massage therapy and other body work. They're doing it from their basement. They have a separate entrance into their garage or whatever it is. And they're very successful. That's not necessarily a sign that you need to move out. But if you perceive that need, then check the box. If you are starting to see, now I want to clarify financial stability, not if you're starting to need financial stability, because if you need financial stability, moving into a commercial space takes you in the opposite direction. But if you are starting to experience financial stability, wow, this is really working. I'm putting money in the bank. My bank account is growing. That is a good sign. That's checking the box. Hey, load the truck. It's time to move out of the garage. Again, you don't have to check all of these off, but you need to check enough to make you feel comfortable. The time is right. When you decide that you're going to grow, I would argue that you need to do this in the early stages before you ever move out of the garage, before you ever decide to take that leap. When you realize that this is a real business, these are things that you need to do. You need to pay attention to these. So we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to work our way up. You need to start with some formation documents, which means maybe you have an LLC. Maybe you create an LLC. Maybe you create a corporation. Maybe you just have you take on a partner and you need a partnership agreement. This is one of the reasons you need to have two conversations very, very early in your business. You need to meet with your accountant and with an attorney. They're going to help you determine legal structure. I'm not an attorney, so I can't dispense legal advice. I can't tell you, wow, you should really incorporate. Nope, can't do that. I can say if I were you, I would probably incorporate. But I have to be very careful in what I can tell you to do. Your accountant may say, you need an LLC. Your attorney may say, you need a corporation. So what happens if they give you conflicting advice? Okay, your attorney is going to look at your business from a risk mitigation standpoint. How do they manage your risk? Your CPA is going to look at your business from a tax liability standpoint. What's your tax exposure? Well, they may find that because of the type of business you have, your tax exposure would be lower if you did one thing, your risk would be lower if you did something else. What you then need to do is decide who makes the best argument. Who has decided that this is the most pertinent argument to you? And if it's risk, go with the lawyer's decision. If it's tax, go with the accountant's decision. But you need to have that conversation very early on. I would say very early on, you also need to open a business bank account. Most banks will open you a small business checking account, and usually these are free. You have to do a lot of activity for them to start charging, but you do not want to run your business and your personal money through the same account. That is a recipe for disaster. You don't need to be putting business expenses on your personal debit card and personal vacation on your business credit card. You just don't want to be mixing things like that. Keep them separate. You also need a bookkeeping system. I'm going to go into the chat and I'm going to type something that I want you to consider. It's the Dome Simplified Monthly Bookkeeping Record. It is a tan notebook. It's about $20 to $25 at any bookstore, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, local bookstore, Staples, Office Depot, Office Max. All of those places have or can get you a Dome Simplified Monthly Bookkeeping Record. What you don't want is a shoebox full of receipts. If you have a Dome Simplified Monthly Bookkeeping Record, then you can track all of your expenses, all of your income. It has instructions in the front. It's super simple. In fact, we buy these in bulk. We buy them 20 to a box, and we give them to our clients who are just starting out because we want to encourage them to have a solid foundation of bookkeeping. And you can do this yourself. It gives you the ability to keep up with your receipts, track your expenses, and then take everything to your accountant or your tax professional at the end of the year. And they're going to love you for this. They're going to love you when they get this book and it's got everything in it and they can just start doing your taxes. Oh, they love that. Start simple. Do not think that you need to start out with QuickBooks, because if you don't understand accounting and you're not really good with computers, QuickBooks is just going to help you screw things up faster. Start simple. And in my view, the Dome Simple, and I have no financial stake, and I don't get money every time you buy one of these. I don't care. I love this product. I actually use this product today in one of my own businesses. So I can vouch for it. It's good stuff. Anytime you find a good way to do something, write it down. Even if it's just walking in the door, turning on the lights, and cranking up the cash register. Write down your processes. How do you schedule and post social media content? How do you handle email responses to customers? What is your process for answering the phone? Well, we're going to answer the phone on the third ring, and this is what we're going to say every time we answer the phone. Why do you want to do that? If you're the only person in the business, you're the only person who cares, the reason you want to do that is so that when you hire the next person, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You've got a guide that shows them everything: what to wear, how to answer the phone, how to make coffee, whatever it is. You want a process, a written process for everything. And then you want to create feedback loops in your business. This is for your own learning. You need to create feedback loops asking your customers, how did we do? Can you take a quick 3-question survey on would you hire us again? Would you recommend us to your friends? Sometimes those are the only 2 questions you need to ask. Because if their answer is no, we wouldn't hire you again, no, we wouldn't recommend you to our friends, or yeah, we'd probably hire you again, but I wouldn't tell anybody else about you, that's an opportunity for you to make a phone call and say, what's going on? Why wouldn't you? Is there something we can fix? But you need that feedback loop with not only your customers, but you need the feedback loop with your suppliers. How are we doing in relation to other businesses our size? What are you seeing out there in terms of businesses like ours? You also need feedback loops with your employees. If you have employees, what makes you happy? What are you looking for that will keep you here, that will keep you productive, that will make you more productive? You also need feedback loops with your family. Am I spending enough time with you? I know that this is tough. We're growing the business. What else can we do? Trust me, your family won't have any problem being a feedback loop for you. But all of this leads to continuous improvement. The businesses that get in trouble the most are those who think they have it all figured out. If we are not continuously improving, we are dying. So make sure you have a process to continually improve your business, thinking about things, growing things all the time. Now, I'm going to leave this with you. I'm not going to go through this very in a deep way, but the reason I put this kind of at the lower end is because a lot of times people think, well, I've got a great name for a business. Now I've got to build a business around this really cool name. That's one of the worst ways to do it. But if you have done all the other things that we're talking about, if you write a business plan, if you've done your research, if you understand your customers, if you understand the good feeling you create and the problem you solve, listen, coming up with a business name is actually going to be much easier than if you just brainstorm it. But on your worksheet, I've put here name storming. Based on the work that you've done, how many business names can you come up with that fit these criteria? Is it easy to say? Is it easy to spell? Is it easy to remember? Henry Bloch, B-L-O-C-H, was tired of people mispronouncing his name because they kept saying Henry Bloch. His name was Block. So when he created H&R Block, he just changed the H to a K. He said, this is much easier to say, spell, and remember. You want your name to be descriptive. Tell what you do, but don't box you in. Descriptive, not restrictive. Down near Atlanta, there's a chain of automotive shops called Just Brakes. But if you look at their sign, they do a whole lot more than just brakes, because Just Brakes can box you in. It tells you exactly where you need to go if you need a brake job, but not if you need a muffler. You would never know they do mufflers there. Your name needs to be web friendly, which goes hand in hand with the next criteria. It needs to be easy to find, even if it's misspelled. So look, my name is Siegel, S-E-A-G-L-E. There's only 40 some odd ways to spell Siegel. If I know that the majority of people spell my name S-E-G-A-L, which is the way Steven Seagal spells his name, look, if I'm going to buy the website, I'm probably going to go ahead and get the misspelling too, especially if I have a donut shop and people are not sure, are you spelling it D-O-N-U-T-S or D-O-U-G-H-N-U-T-S? Which way are you spelling donuts? Hey, for $15 a year, get both. But you also need to make sure your name is protectable. So I'm going to put something else here in the chat for you. This is a website you need to visit as you start to think about naming your business. USPTO.gov. This is the government's U.S. Patent and Trademark Office website. This will tell you if the name you have chosen is already taken. If it is, don't use it. I'm going to start a hamburger restaurant in North Carolina. It's the same name as a hot dog stand in Washington. Who cares? Oh, somebody will care. If they've gone to the trouble to register that trademark, trust me, they're going to want to protect it. You wouldn't want anybody stepping on your toes, so don't step on anyone else's, but make sure that you have a name that if you do grow, if you move out of the garage and you move down to Main Street, you could protect that name. Your name is going to be the first thing people see. It's going to be the thing people associate with your business, and it's going to cause certain feelings. It's going to create impressions. Think about how you feel when you hear the name Nike or Boeing right now. I know a lot of people are not real happy with the word Boeing because of the Alaska Airlines incident, but think about what you think of when you think of Domino's Pizza or Joe's Spaghetti, or City Lights Bookstore, whatever it is. We think about the local brands, the regional brands, the national and international brands. You probably have some sort of reaction to those. That's what your name is going to do. You want to be careful in choosing your name because it's not something you're going to be able to change easily. Now, as far as location goes, the big question is, do you really need one? When you think about moving out of the garage down to Main Street, do you want to do that or do you need to do that? The new normal, thanks to COVID, people are moving back home. They're using technology to look big without being big. But what do your customers need? If your customers need to access you through ramps, if they have wheelchairs, you probably don't want to be on a second floor walk-up where they can't get to you. Do they need wider doors? Do those doors need to be automatic? Do they need them easier to open? What kind of location do your customers need? That trumps the location that you think you need. And remember, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. So you need balance, space, and affordability. You need to balance what you can find with what you can afford. Everything is a balance. The more spacious it is, the more expensive it will be. Just like you'll pay for more traffic. The higher the foot traffic, vehicular traffic, you're going to pay more for those spaces, even if they might be a little bit smaller. But the beautiful thing about commercial space is that you can negotiate everything. Just because the landlord says this is $3,000 a month does not mean it's $3,000 a month. You can negotiate that. Never, ever, 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 ever sign a commercial lease without first letting an attorney look at it. One of our attorneys took a 14-page lease and whittled it down to 8 pages. The whole time she's marking through entire paragraphs, I'm saying, Carolyn, can we do that? She said, oh yes, we can do it. And the landlord accepted it. So negotiate. If you can avoid these 4 cardinal sins, you're going to have a better experience with renting or buying commercial space. Now, over-optimism is that little voice in your head that says, this is a great idea. This will never fail. Go ahead and sign the 50-year lease. Over-optimism causes these other sins. It's the root of these other sins. When you believe that this business can never fail, you're going to make some decisions that you would not otherwise make if you understood the reality that, yes, most businesses do fail. How can I be careful about this? Rather than signing the 50-year lease, maybe you sign the 1-year lease. It's a little bit more expensive, but you have an option to renew at a reduced rate if things go well. Landlords hate vacancies. They hate vacancies because vacancies don't make them any money. But guess what they hate almost as much, and in some cases, even more? They hate turnover. You probably are aware of a doomed location somewhere near you. It's that location where you drive by and you say, oh, what's in there this week? What kind of business is there this month? Whoa, it's a restaurant. Well, I'm never eating there because nothing ever makes it there. And I don't want to like a place that's not going to be there very long. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. They want long-term tenants. So if it means you pay a little bit more for a short-term lease that you could get out of, with the possibility of making it a longer-term relationship, go that route. Overcommitment. Yes, I'm going to sign the 50-year lease. No. When you sign that lease, that is a financial obligation. If you sign a $5,000 a month lease for 50 years, you have just said, I'm going to pay $60,000 for the next 50 years. Do the math. That's a lot. Also, by the way, side note, if you sign a lease before you have your financing lined up, the lender's going to automatically say no because you've just jumped the gun. You've rushed into it. Not a good decision. Don't overpay. Again, everything is negotiable. And just be aware that if you affix anything to the property, it becomes the property of the landlord. If you can carry it out with you, then it's yours. If you have to unscrew it, unbolt it, unglue it, whatever, it's theirs. So beware, and you can actually put language in your lease. This is why an attorney's great. Put language in the lease that says we can remove any affixed equipment if we relocate. Once you put that language in there, then yes, you can take it off the wall and you can move it. If you can avoid these cardinal sins, you're probably going to have a much better experience with leased property. So here's the great tool. I love it. It's priority. It's called a priority grid. And when you start to grow your business or start a business, you're going to think, boy, there's so many things going on that I just can't keep up with. Make a big list. You're going to have plenty of lists based on what we're covering today. And on page 4 of your handout, you're going to see my big to-do list. There are no numbers on this list. You're just going to make a list. Brain dump all the things that you need to do, put it all out there on your list. And then you're going to number that list top to bottom, 1 through whatever. Then you're going to start to compare. This is where the little triangle of numbers comes in. Whatever you have in number 1, you're going to compare it to number 2. Which one of those is most important? If number 2 is more important than number 1, circle number 2. Then you're going to compare number 1 and number 3. Compare number 1 and number 4, number 1 and number 5. You're going to work your way down each column. And each one that you believe is more important in that pair, you're going to circle. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to compare number 2 and number 3, number 2 and number 4, et cetera, et cetera. However many you have. And at the end of this, you're going to count how many times you circled each number. And if number 4 has been circled the most times, number 4 then becomes your number 1 priority, and you're going to reorder that. This is great for helping you prioritize the things that you need to do in your business, where you're going to eat for dinner, what games you're going to play on game night. Just about everything can be put on this priority grid and used this way. So again, you just start out with a big list. You number it sequentially 1 to whatever, and then you go to work comparing. All right. We have 4 minutes. I'm going to make this super easy for you. This is a business plan. Believe it or not, this is a business plan. What is it a business plan of? Southwest Airlines. They had 3 planes, 3 routes, 3 cities that they were going to fly between, and they were just going to make this loop. Herb Kelleher, who is deceased now, this is a picture of him. He is the one who came up with this. It is literally drawn on a cocktail napkin in a bar in Dallas, and the more he had to drink, the better this idea looked. And so he just started what has now become the world's most profitable airline. But if you can answer these questions, and again, you've got these questions, this is yours. You can download this PDF. If you can answer these questions, you've got a business plan. This is it. Who? We've talked about you. Who are you? What do you do? Who will sell what? No, you're not going to sell the technical stuff, the physical product. You're going to sell the good feeling that you create and the problem you solve. Who will sell what to whom? Who is your avatar? Who loves you, baby? Where are you going to be? Where do your customers need you to be? What kind of location do they need? Now, for how much and at what cost? This is where you're going to need to do some digging. You probably, if you're moving from Garage to Main Street, you probably already have a price structure, but you want to meet with your accountant. You want to meet with your trusted advisors and determine, do you need to make any adjustments in that? That link right there is the same link that we have down here in the web links. Go get that free business plan template. If you're going to ask for some money, you need to get some things together, because all lenders are going to ask the same questions. They're going to want to see bank statements. They can tell a lot about how you treat money from your bank statements. They're going to want to see 2 to 3 years of tax returns, both for you and, if you have them, for the business. They're going to want to see your business plan. It's your roadmap to success. Without it, they can't have any idea of where you're going. And they're going to want to see a personal financial statement. In other words, what assets do you own and what liabilities do you owe? If you put all of these things together, you're about 80% of the way toward applying for a loan. The rest of it is the lender's loan application, basically. I've given you some stats here on CDFIs. The main thing to look at is that you have the web link down in the web link section for the native CDFI locator, or the CDFI locator. You may not have a native CDFI near you. And unfortunately, we have some enrolled members of the Eastern Band of Cherokee who are not in Western North Carolina. They may need us to point them to another CDFI near them. It may not be a native CDFI. We try to do that when we can. But look, there are only 69 of us. There are nowhere near enough native CDFIs. So if your tribe is considering starting a CDFI, if you need financing, this is a great way to do it. Contact the Native CDFI Network, and we can help you with that. I'm on the board of that organization, and we can help get you started down that path of creating your own native CDFI. Okay, finally, because we got 1 minute left, don't forget that your mobile phone is an equalizer. Back in the days before modern technology, you had to have money You had to have time. You had to have connections. You had to have ego. You had to have energy. Today, if you have a little bit of those and you have a mobile phone, folks, we've got people running businesses, running very profitable, successful businesses on their phone. They're using it for their marketing, for their bookkeeping, for their customer tracking, customer communications, you name it. So dig into apps that can help you talk to people. Go to the Chamber of Commerce, ask businesses what apps they're using to help them run their business. Do that, and you're going to be well ahead of the game. We are out of time. I want to respect your time. I know that you could have been anywhere this afternoon doing just about anything, and I appreciate you spending some time with me today. And I wish you all the best as you move out of the garage and to Main Street. Ski.
Oh, thank you so much, Russ. That was such an incredible presentation. And thank you for all the helpful resources that you shared, the planning sheet, the business plan template, all incredible, incredible resources. I know I certainly learned a lot just listening. I'm going to go ahead and launch the feedback survey for everybody before you go anywhere. Russ is still here, so feel free to send in any questions you might have into the chat box while I close out the webinar for today. I already launched the feedback. Please just take a minute to fill that in for you guys, or for us guys, if you don't mind. It helps us to know more of what's working well, help us to maybe tweak what possibly needs it. And it is an anonymous survey, so feel free to be as candid as you like. Again, it just takes a few minutes. We hope you can join us for our next webinar. That's going to be on February 14th. That'll be advanced storytelling, how to tell stories across all types of grants. And that'll be Diane Leonard giving that webinar. So feel free to join us on Valentine's Day and learn about some advanced storytelling for grants. Registration is free as always. And feel free to access this and any other recorded webinars online on our website, nativelearningcenter.com. There's a Catheta webinar section with a recorded webinars tab. So you can click on any of the webinars that we've done for the past 2 years. Feel free to view those, share them with your friends, share them with your colleagues. Spread the love. And please check out our upcoming events that are posted to our various social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. We even have a podcast titled Hopathanga Native American Podcast, where we discuss more focused topics within Native American housing and self-determination. You can listen to that on Simplecast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and you can view the video recordings with our guests on YouTube as well. All right, once again, I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. A wonderful afternoon, wonderful presentation. Thank you again, Russ. I hope everybody has a fantastic day, and we do hope to connect with you real soon. I'm going to go ahead and close out the webinar, folks. Thank you again, Russ. Everybody have a fantastic rest of your afternoon.